welcome to my channel again. Couple of haul items and some little tests of some of them coming up today. Firstly, I just want to apologise for the radio silence, or apparent radio silence lately. It's not really radio silence. What's actually been happening is that I've recorded stuff and I've just had some problems lately with, I don't really know what the reason is, but I had some problems, past tense, with converting recordings over, ready to upload them onto YouTube. So I've got some stuff backed up, which I will deal with in due course. First thing I wanted to talk about today were these really cheap crap paintbrushes, children's paintbrushes really, that I bought today at Paperchase in the UK. So this was a set for £3.50, so about 70 pence or 90 cents each, and you can get them at paperchase.co.uk. I don't have any affiliate links for them, so, you know, do what you like. The reason I got hold of these is the colour sweeping, or, well, there's all sorts of names for it, technique that people use quite commonly in card making and so on, has been around for a while, and it's not something I've really done a lot with, but I did try out these really cheap Clear Choice 111 stencil brushes, the ones with the cut horsehair, and they were all right but not great. And the best kind of products I've seen for it that my friends and colleagues in the USA use are I think they're called colour dusters that look like a shaving brush, you know, stout handle with long bristles. And I know Lindsay the Frugal Crafter bought those when they were like $1 each, but apparently they're more expensive these days. And the other thing I've seen are Clarity stencil brushes that Jen Maguire has that are huge, great things. And the bristles on them remind me a lot of the Kryler acrylic brush bristles, like a synthetic that looks like real hair. And I thought about trying out some of my paintbrushes to do this, but then I saw Lindsay trying out some really cheap brushes to see if they worked, and I wanted to find an equivalent in the UK. So I've just got here a piece of normal premium cardstock that I would use to make cards with. Good thing with these brushes I liked is either a wooden handle, which is always good, you know they're going to not break on you too easily, and they're colour coded, so I can have one for each coloured ink. And I just wanted to try first of all a kind of plain take on this method. Now I've got some watercolour paper just underneath, so I'm just going to I've just torn the card down because it's always good to do this on a craft sheet really when you're doing any kind of ink blending at all. And I'm using distress inks because they were to hand. I've got Candied Apple and Faded Jeans because they were the first two that I pulled out of the box. And I just wanted to try really and see how this goes. And also the advantage is I haven't used these two pads that much, so they're very, very juicy. And basically all you do is rub the brush over to pick up some colour, and let's make sure we're in focus here, and then you can just blend on from the edges really, and as long as you keep the ink moving before it starts to dry, you can vary the pressure a bit and you can get all kinds of different effects. Now these are actually a bit scratchy, they're not giving me the smoothness that I really wanted and what I was really hoping for, but they are quite good for inking the edge of the paper. They work kind of like blending tools for that, and really you would use colour sweeping or colour dusting when you don't want dark colour, you want really light colour, you know, really light dusting of colour. I don't know if you can really see that too well, but I've got a darker area and a lighter area using that. And the good thing is, because distress inks are water soluble, you could just kind of wet the brush and reactivate what's on there. You could use Distress's own ink activator, I think they sell it as, or you could use water. Water with a bit of glycerine in it will work exactly the same way. So there you go. I mean, all Distress inks is a water-based ink with a retarder in it, and I'm pretty certain that I haven't tried it, but if you put any retarding agent like glycerine into water, you can make any ink kind of lift in a similar way. So they're not that special. They've just got a retarder in there that stops them drying first time so that they'll lift a few times. So when the brushes are obviously red, I could reuse this with any red ink at all, any brand, doesn't matter, because this will dry onto the bristles, and even if it comes off on the next card, it won't matter because I'm using a red ink anyway, so it should be all right, right? Faded Jeans is a dark denim blue, a true indigo kind of, well, true indigo in colour, not true indigo in composition. much juicier ink pad here, so I can actually get quite a bit more on here. And I'm just doing circles because I tend to find for any ink blending, they give you less obvious brush marks. And what I wanted to try doing was mixing the blue and the red kind of together to see if I could get a kind of purple by mixing the two on the page. Now obviously the blue will lift the red because these are liftable inks. But yeah, they have actually blended. I mean, not brilliantly. I think what you have to do really with this as a technique is pick it up, brush some off so you don't have any excess, and then you can pick up what you brushed off while it's still wet. So what I've got is, let me focus on the cardstock so you can see, I have some very soft red, some much bolder, let me get it flat so you can actually see it, some of this much bolder red here, and then the purpley kind of mix I made, and then the blue. So you can get a really soft dusting of colour, and that could be something to use if you just don't want intense colour like you get with a blending tool or with foam. This is really, excuse the sound of drilling, my neighbours upstairs are drilling things, it seems. It's their new hobby. God knows what they're doing, they've been doing it for months. I like to think it's some kind of really, really disturbing fetish. Or they're murdering people. It's that or DIY, and that's terribly boring. So again, you can brush off what's on the brush, and I know that I can reuse those. So I will be using these in forthcoming card making videos and drawing videos, because they're a good way to colorize something. So if, for example, you'd done a pen and ink drawing in black, or you were thinking about doing a line and wash painting, you know, where you do a black waterproof pen and then you take watercolour quite dilute and paint over it, you could actually colour dust over it to get a much more subtle effect. And that's something I'm going to be exploring at a later date. So that was the Paper Chase set of, I'll give you the product name, it's just called 5 paintbrushes, and they sell for £3.50, and you'll recognise them because they've got the coloured wooden handles. So in this set, and all the ones on the shelf were the same today, there was yellow, orange, kind of teal, green basically, blue and red. And for me that's great because the predominant ink colours I would use are pretty much in those categories. Now there are the browns and there are the other colours which I probably use the orange for, and then use the yellow brush for true oranges. Purples you could use the blue one for, it won't actually matter. All greens, turquoises and so on I could use that one for. So even though this is not a set of 7 colours because we're missing the purples, that's enough really to be able to use any colours for colour dusting. So yes, they work, yes, they're fine for it. I recommend them, I think they're great for it, and they were really relatively economical. You know, I was paying 70 pence for each of these, or 90 cents. I know Lindsay pays $1 for the colour dusters that people in the US are really struggling to get hold of at the moment. So if I were to buy those colour dusters for $1 that Lindsay uses, I would be paying about 80 pence at the current exchange rates, and then import and everything else. So I wanted to find a product in the UK that I could use, and these are a real hair. I think they're a really cheap hog bristle, possibly horsehair actually. No, I think they're horsehair. These are horsehair brushes. So reasonably good. You could use any horsehair really. Horsehair tends to lend itself pretty well to blending, especially the really cheap stuff that they use in children's brushes. So you don't need to buy expensive horsehair stencil brushes or the clarity brushes or anything like that. Get cheap kids horsehair paint brushes. You will not be sorry, they blend beautifully. Right, I'm now going to do some card making videos, so you might see these coming up soon if I can make sure I get my conversion issues sorted out. Thank you very much and goodbye.